Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Yes, please be seated. How are you, Amir sir?
Alhamdulillah, Azur.
Acha, now you have gathered some press people here.
Yes, Azur, we have different media houses here.
Should we start now?
Yes, Azur, according to
Okay.
your
Then, okay.
permission.
Okay, start.
Assalamu alaikum, Azur.
Wa alaikum assalam wa
Thank you.
rahmatullah.
Thank you so much for granting us another mulakat. I'd like to say that this is my fourth mulakat.
Fourth mulaqat
Yeah, my fourth
Okay,
mulakat.
all right.
MashaAllah.
and the first virtual mulaqat.
It was virtual mulakat, inshallah. So I'd like to start by referencing your book, World Crisis and the Pathway to Peace. You underscored the importance of justice as a prerequisite and essential condition for peace between nations. What's the cost of growing injustice, Azur, and global inequality among the world's population? And why is it crucial to constantly speak up against injustice?
You see, not only with regards to the world affairs, you have to establish justice. In every sphere of life, you will have to show justice. Even if there's no justice in your house, if you have two wives and you are not doing justice with both of them, then there will be fight in the house. You can see. And Africans are very well aware of this because they have more than one wife, most of the Muslims at least. Similarly, in the case of world affairs, if there is no justice, there is no peace. If you have double standards, as we can see in today's world, shown by the big powers, they cannot maintain peace in the world. This is what happened when League of Nations was formed. The League of Nations was formed to maintain justice and give equal rights to each and every nation, but it failed. Resultantly, there was an eruption of Second World War. And the same is happening with the UNO. They are not maintaining justice. They have double standards for poor countries and for the rich countries, for Western countries and African and Asian countries. And this is why we can see there is disturbance in the world today. So, if there is no justice, there is no peace. This is why the Holy Quran says, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, that you have to establish justice, and then you can see the peace in the society, in your local level, in your houses, and at the international level at large. Right? So this is why I always say it is very crucial. Even if you do not do justice with your two children, after some time, one will stand against you. So this is why I always emphasize, and it is the teaching of Islam, that always do justice. And the justice is the best way to maintain peace and harmony in the society. Okay?
Thank you so much, Azur.
Stand up. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So quickly, I have one question.
Yes, please.
It is attributed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that when you see a wrong, you either remove it physically with your hands, or you remove it with the mouth, or at least you dislike it in your heart that you wish this was moved. In the case of Palestine, Israel, I want to know what is the position of the mission what exactly are they doing about it? Assalamu alaikum.
The Holy Prophet ﷺ said that if you see something bad, try to rectify it by hand or by mouth, or at least with your prayers, right? The thing is, if you have the power to stop it with force, you use your hand. If you don't have the power, at least you should use your mouth and tell them that it is not a good thing. Even if you don't have that much courage to speak against those who are fighting or doing bad things, then at least pray for them. You see, we don't have the worldly power. We are not ruling any country. So here, as with regards to the power, we cannot use it. As far as disliking or stopping it through the word of mouth or by saying something, that is what we have been doing all the time. You see, in my last Eid sermon, I spoke against that cruelty and brutality that was being committed or is being committed against Palestinians. And there is no balance of power. Israel is the fourth superpower of the world, and Palestinians are just a small, resourceless people. And they cannot reply in the same way. They cannot practice tit for tat. They are just bearing all this cruelty. So what Ahmadiyya community is doing is, within their sphere, within their reach, whatever we can do, we speak against cruelty and brutality being committed, and our contacts with the politicians, the big powers of the world, as in UK or America, there also we try to meet the politicians and those people who are in power, those who are in contact with us, or those who listen to us, that try to use their resources, their influence to stop this brutality and cruelty. And you see, here also we have to maintain justice. Whoever is cruel, whoever is destroying the peace, should be stopped from doing it. So this is what Ahmadiyya community is doing in case of Palestine, or in any case wherever the justice is not being properly done. Okay? Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
My question, the question that I have is, as a Muslim Jamaat, what is your take on the statement that Muslims are involved in so many atrocious acts?
You see, our message is quite clear. And in my addresses and discourses, I have spoken this subject at length, that all those groups which are creating disturbance and destroying the peace of the society, committing atrocities, brutalities, are doing it against the teaching of Islam, but they are using the name of Islam. They are actually trying to defame the name of Islam. So we always speak against them. If you read my book, there are some lectures in addresses in this book, Pathway to Peace, where it is clearly, categorically written that these groups are, whatever they are doing, it is against the teaching of Islam. Because they don't have the power. If they want to reform the world, this is not the way of reforming the world. If they get the power in any of the government, then they at least reform the world by showing true teachings of Islam. Islam never said that you commit such type of atrocities and harm any person without any reason. This is why the Holy Quran says that killing of a person without any genuine reason is like a killing of the whole of the mankind. And Muslims should try to keep them away from such type of atrocities. So this is what we have been telling all the time. Even, you see, in the name of Islam, actually they want their political power. And that is Boko Haram or Al-Shabaab or Al-Qaeda or whatever it is. They are all doing all these things in the name of Islam, but actually they are trying to defame the name of Islam. Okay?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
My question will be, we wake up every day and we see a lot of news on injustice, issues happening around the world, not only in Palestine or Israel. So as young people, what we do is post on all social media pages and say, pray for this country or pray for these people. But our brothers and sisters' innocent lives are taken daily. So what do you think is the exact solution, apart from just word displacement on social media and rallies or other things? That is my question.
You see, I have already spoken on this. If you have power, you use power to fight against those people who are destroying the peace of the society. And at different platforms, you have to speak against injustice and ask the people of the world and the powers of the world to maintain peace. And in case of Palestine, if the Muslim world is united, there are almost 54 countries of the Muslim world. If they are united and their words are the same, they are using the same language for asking to maintain the peace of the world, then you would see that there's a big change. But regrettably, the Muslim world is not united. Every Muslim leader have their own vested interest. This is why our opponents know, those people who are against Islam know that they are not united, so we can do whatever we like. And this is the result of what is happening in the Muslim world. This is the result not only what is happening in Palestine, this is the result of all those militant groups, the formation of the militant groups. Had there been a justice and one single stance of whole of the Muslim world on this issue, there would not have been any militant group. Or had there been any militant group, they would have jointly tried to destroy them. But it's a pity that we are not united. So the practical solution is that the Muslim world should get united and also try to use political influence on the big powers. In this way, we can maintain peace in the world and establish justice in the world. Okay? As far as the Jamaat Ahmadiyya is concerned, we have been doing whatever is within our resources or within our means. Okay? All right, next.
My name is Ahmad Diop from Star TV. I would like to ask a question based on the answer that you give. Muslim worlds are not united, and we all know unification is power. But all the let's say Islamic leaders always preach about Muslims are not united, and you talk about like unification, like they are not united when it comes to, let's say, they like you earlier mentioned, like they always go for their own interest. So have the leaders try to create anything pertaining to talk or discuss about something that can unite Muslims so that they can have one goal, that is maintaining peace into the world.
You see, this is what I have said. It's a big pity. Regrettably, they are not united. All have their vested interests. Our leadership is not sincere. They only want to save their power, their chair, and supremacy of their parties or their nation, instead of considering the unity of the Muslim Ummah. So, this is why the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, in the latter days, this will happen. Muslims will not be united. Every country or society or group will have their own interest, and they will not consider the larger interest of the Muslim Ummah. And at that time, even they will forget the teaching of Islam. In the name of Islam, they will be doing bad things. So at that time, the reformer of the age will come, and you follow that reformer. If you follow that reformer, he will give you the true teaching of Islam and get you united. So, in my view, this is the only solution, that instead of seeing their own national and political interests or personal interests, each and every leader should consider and try to think of the larger interest of the Muslim Ummah and try to unite. If they are not going to accept the reformer of the age, at least they try to unite. And you see, there is an organization of Islamic countries, but that has failed. What is it doing? That organization does not have one voice. Had there been one voice of Muslim Ummah, Muslim leadership, then there would not have been such things, as I have already explained. So, the only thing is that Muslim Ummah should get united. And the solution which Allah Ta'ala has given us, the Holy Prophet ﷺ has told us, is that when the reformer of the age comes, you accept him. In my view, this is the solution. Okay? Next.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
My name's Fat Toure from Home Digital FM. As we know what is going on around in Palestine and Israel, apart from violence, to end these conflicts in Palestine and Israel, what should we do as a Muslim? And what is your mission doing about this?
If you don't know the root cause of the violence, or if you don't know the root cause of any problem, you cannot solve it. The problem is that Israelis occupied the Palestinian land, and it was also the fault of the Palestinians or the Arabs living in that area. They sold their land to the Israelis. So that had happened. And then they established their country. So now, because of the agreement, Israelis have taken some land from Arabs and then made their country. But after that, if the government who has the power and who is the big power of the world try to encroach and snatch the other part of the land which was according to the agreement given to the Palestinians, then there will be a conflict. So, this is what we have said, and I've been trying to say, that they don't want to maintain justice. They don't want to maintain peace and harmony in the society. They have the greed. And unless their greed is finished, they will keep on doing it. And that can only be stopped, as I have already said, if all the Muslim countries unite together and they should speak in one voice. And when they speak in one voice and show their force, then you would see there's a big change in this existing conflict between Israel and Palestine. Okay, next.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I am Ahmad Jadama of the Standard newspaper. Okay, my question, this is my first time to attend this.
Acha, mashallah. This is the first time of this virtual mulaqat.
Yeah, this is my first time. Okay. My question is, we are witnessing a lot of injustice and atrocities happening going in the world against the Muslim. As the leader of the Jamaat, what do you think? What trigger all this heinous crime against the Muslims, Ummah?
I have already told you in the other question that because our leadership is not fair, they are not sincere with their objectives. They all have their own vested interests. You see, now we can see that Israel has killed more than 200 Palestinians. Then if you see what Saudi Arab did with Yemen, thousands of people were killed and displaced and removed from their houses. And then what happened in Syria and Iraq? If the Muslim world is not united and they are killing each other, how can we say that we can maintain peace in the world? Until and unless we, as a Muslim world, become united, and then there should be unifying force, unity, and one voice, and that will serve the purpose. But because our enemy knows that we are not one, although we claim ourselves to be Muslim Ummah, but as Ummah, we are not working together. So, this is the cause of all these atrocities being committed against Muslims. If you are one, there would not have been any power who dare to fight against Muslims, right? Okay, next.
Assalamu alaikum, dear Huzur.
Wa alaikum salam.
I am Ibrahim Ba from MTA The Gambia. My question is about this generation in which we are, and why has it been extremely difficult for this generation, bluffing with an unprecedented technological advancement and awareness, to achieve peace and unity?
All your questions are encircling around unity and peace. You see, it's not a matter of this generation only. For past 50, 60 decades, we have been seeing this disturbance in the world. Even it is almost 107 years since the First World War erupted, right? And later on, the Second World War. That is also more than 70 years. This is the pity, that although we are advancing, we claim ourselves to be civilized, we claim ourselves more advanced than the previous generation, and still we are trying to snatch each other's rights. We are usurping the rights of each other. And without feeling any shame. And everybody thinks that he is right. So now, in this materialistic world, although we have technologically advanced, but our greed has increased. The whole world is a global village now. And we can see that that nation has got more facilities, they are better advanced, and we are less advanced. They have better facilities, they are rich and we are poor, and that is also making frustration among the people. This technological advance has created frustration. And because of this frustration, we are trying to snatch others' assets and property by hook or by crook. We don't bother whether it is fair or not. The big powers, despite the fact that they have the power, they have the resources, they are trying to usurp and snatch the resources of the small powers. Millions of dollars are being collected from the African nations by the big powers in the name of establishing peace in their countries or for the development of their countries. But in reality, it is not being spent on them. Had it been spent properly on the African countries or the poor countries of the world, whether it is in Asia or Africa or elsewhere, there would not have been a poverty level as we can see today. So, although we say that there is a technological advance, but that advance has brought us together, and at the same time, it has created enmity with each other. And, vindictiveness, anxiety, there are so many causes. And that is creating disturbance in the society, in the whole world. So we have to consider all these things, that how can we live together. This is why, at the end, I would say again the same thing. This is why the reformer of the age came, to unite the whole of mankind on one hand. And until and unless the people, whether it's the people of the big rich countries or the people of the poor countries, realize the rights of each other and realize the right they owe to their creator, there can never be peace in the society or in the world. Okay? Okay, next.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I am Pamudi Chan from the Point newspaper, and I have two questions. One is, we realized that in 2004, you launched the annual National Peace Symposium, which is a key event of the Jamaat held at a large mosque in Western Europe. So, will the peaceful mindset of the Jamaat be further strengthened among religious in Johnson, especially the divisions within Muslim groups around the world? The other question is, at the time of fanaticism, how does, peace be upon him, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad became the hallmark of Muslim thinking?
We have been doing our job. We were interested to try to create peace and let the people understand their duties they owe towards their creator and they owe towards their fellow beings. And until and unless both duties are discharged, there cannot be peace of mind. And if there is no peace of mind, you cannot establish peace. And you cannot create or develop justice or do justice in the world. So we have been doing our level best to try to make the people realize that these are their duties. And quite a number of audience who come to attend our peace conference or the other conferences listen to our speeches. They say yes. Quite a number of politicians also come to attend our conference, and they say whatever you have said is really the thing which can create peace in the society. But when they go back to their normal life, then they forget what did they hear from the Jamaat's platform. And then again, they have their vested interests. So at least quite a number of people do understand what we are saying. And as the time goes on, we can see that there's a big change. Now people have started realizing that whatever the Jamaat Ahmadiyya is saying is the real solution for creating peace in the society or in the world. But they have their own interests, and even their hands are tied. They are not free to say whatever they like. So our work is to keep on saying whatever is right. And we are not going to give up. Whether somebody understands it or not, but we hope that one day people will realize their duties, these two duties which I have mentioned. Then when they realize their duties, then they will practice whatever we are saying and act upon whatever is necessary for creating the peace in the society and in the world. The second question is a lot of injustice around the world, and so how has Imam Mahdi become an instrument of peace in this age? You see, he claimed that Allah Ta'ala has sent him to bring the whole Ummah onto one hand and the whole mankind to realize their duties towards their Creator and to each other. So this is the mission of the Imam Mahdi and Prophet Messiah. And during his lifetime, he discharged his duties and tried to spread his message as far as it could reach. And now we are trying to spread the message of the Imam Mahdi al-Islam, and people have started realizing it, and those who understand it, they are trying to join us, they come to join us. So, you see, you cannot say that within 2 or 3 years or within a short period of time, you can achieve your target. But that is our mission, and the target is big target, and we hope that one day we shall achieve it, and for the world will realize their duties toward their Creator and their fellow beings. And once they realize it, then that will be the time when you will see the world living in peace and harmony. Okay, next.
My name is Adama Makasuba. You made mention a need for unification among Muslim nations to earn peace. So I want to know what approaches can be reached by these nations to register a lasting solution for peace.
You see, I've already mentioned, I already answered this question, and if I repeat it again and again, that until and unless we realize our duties towards each other, we cannot maintain peace in the society. Next.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam.
My name is Momodu Sar. I'm the publisher and editor of Nabanko newspaper. It's an online newspaper and also a senior reporter of New Day newspaper. I have a series of questions, but if you want me to ask,
yes,
I can
you,
ask all of them
the
concurrently.
time is short. You can ask one question.
Okay, my question is, what is the proof from the Holy Quran that Islam is the only true religion? And some, you can state some of the attributes on why all the prophets have in common, including the promised Messiah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You see, Holy Quran said that all the religions, all the prophets sent by Allah Ta'ala were the true prophets of Allah Ta'ala. The Quran only says that all the teaching of the previous prophets have been gathered in the Holy Quran. And all the previous prophets always said, it is in the Bible and in the Quran as well, that they came to their own people in different pockets. And there was a time when there was more than one prophet in different areas. As you can see, Abraham and Lot, the example in the Holy Quran, even in the Bible. But the Holy Quran claims that the Holy Prophet ﷺ was sent for the whole of the mankind. He is Rahmatul lil Alameen. And he is for all the nations. And this is why all the true teachings which were preserved till the time of the claim of the Holy Prophet ﷺ were all included and revealed to the Holy Prophet ﷺ again. And they were mentioned in the Holy Quran. So, we say, all the previous prophets, although they were rightly guided and were sent by Allah Ta'ala, but they never claimed that they are for the whole of the mankind. But the Holy Prophet ﷺ claimed, and it is in the Holy Quran, that he is for the whole of the mankind and for the whole of the world. And his message is complete. Now is the complete Sharia. This is one thing. The second thing, even Jesus Christ did not say that he has come for the whole of the mankind. He said he has come for the tribes of the Israelites. Then, common attribute of all the prophets is they always said that worship Allah. And they were the true follower of Allah Ta'ala. And they tried to maintain the unity of Allah. All of them said Allah is all-powerful and omnipotent. That is the common thing which all the prophets said. And even this was said by the Prophet Messiah Islam. So this is the short answer of your question. Okay, next.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Yes,
My name is Ibrahim Abba from King FM. I want to know what is the meaning of Ahmadiyya.
Ahmadiyya. You see, there are different sects in Islam. There are some Hanafis, Malikis, Shafis, then there are subsects. And in this way, there are almost 72 sects in Islam. When the census of 1901 was being conducted, at that time, the founder of the Ahmadiyya community said that we should distinct ourselves as a sect from the other Muslim sects. Although we are Muslims, but as the other Muslim sects also say, they have different sects, so we are also sect. But the name of the sect will be Ahmadi. And at that time, those who were the follower of the Prophet Messiah Islam or Mahdi Islam were given the name Ahmadi because of that census of 1901. And he gave the reason of it. He said that other sects have given the name according to the names of their founders. Abu Hanifa, Maliki, Shafi, Hanafi, Hanbali, or whatever it is. But here, I am given this name Ahmadis because this is the name of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. The name of the Holy Prophet ﷺ is Muhammad and Ahmad. So, after the name of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, he named his sect as Ahmadi. This is the reason why we have been given the name Ahmadis. And this distincts us from the other sects, that we are the sect who is after the name of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, not after the name of the founder of the Ahmadiyya community. Right? Okay, next.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi beloved Huzu.
Wa alaikum salam.
My name is Ahmad Mbo, a staff of Delight FM Radio, Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat radio station. My question is, how can we purify our hearts and strengthen our faith to have the love and the spiritual connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
The best way is to pray to Allah Ta'ala, that Allah Ta'ala purifies your heart. This is why Allah Ta'ala has asked us to, and even He has shown so many examples in the Holy Quran and given us the prayers in the Holy Quran, that you should say, you do istighfar. Istighfar is the best way to purify your heart. Istighfar is the best way to free you from your previous sins and to give you the power to stop committing any sin again. So this is the best way. And then also Allah Ta'ala has asked a true Muslim to offer the 5 daily prayers. So if we are fervently praying in our 5 daily prayers and observing our prayers in the best way and with full concentration, then we can see that there's a big change in our life. So the best way is to offer 5 daily prayers, seek Allah's guidance, Allah's help to purify your heart, and do istighfar and do Durood Sharif as well, as much as you can. That will also help you to purify your heart and to increase you in your faith and belief. Okay, I think Mirza, now it's more than 1 hour. That is all.
Yes, Hazur, that's all. We are very much thankful.
You have already taken 5 minutes extra, 5 minutes extra, and now thank you all of those who have come to attend this meeting, and convey my salam to all the Jamaat members, and Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay.
Jazakumullah, Hazur. Thank you.